Remember to unmute everyone, unmute.
Anderson Burgos,
Here.
Bartley,
Here.
Rainey,
Here.
Hernandez,
Here.
Leahy. Leahy,
Sorry, I'm here, present.
LeBron Martinez,
Here.
Lisi,
Here.
McGee,
Here.
McGivern,
Here.
Murphy,
Here.
Sullivan,
Here.
Tallman,
Here.
Bacon.
Here.
All right, well, everyone is here. Welcome back to another Zoom meeting. For those who are at home or just tuning in, we're running a little late. We had a special meeting getting an update as to what was going on from several department heads, and I want to thank everyone who was involved there. For those here, Ryan and I have been working on getting public comment up and running. There is a public comment email to email it in. It bounces back to Ryan and I to read them out. We were testing it during the special meeting. That's why I was, had no camera on because I kept looking at that and I want people to think I was being rude. So it's publiccomment@yahoo.com. It was posted on the agenda as well as it was flashing across the screen. No comments have come in as of yet other than Ryan sending me a test when I kept saying hi. So it is up and running. It is ability for the public to comment on issues. I know traditionally we have a sign-in sheet, but well, we obviously can't have that right now. So public comment is up and running. It's once again, publiccomment@yahoo.com. First item on the agenda is from the city clerk and from Ryan. It's the minutes of the April 21st, 2020 meeting.
Make a motion to pass them or approve them.
Motion is to receive and adopt. No changes. Any questions on them? Seeing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Next one is item number 2. It's from James Cannon, an email regarding the Whiting Street Reservoir Committee. It looks like he.
Yeah, a motion to receive and refer to the administrative assistant to the city council as well as the HR director.
HR. So a motion is to receive
and public service. Sorry about
Public
that.
service.
So I'm willing to serve on the committee from Mr. Cannon. So motion is receive, send to public safety with a copy
Service.
to
Service.
HR, public service, sorry, public service with a copy to HR. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? President's report. Just quickly, we did get that update from the special meeting with regards to all the department heads. I know we were running out of time. I was trying to keep it so we didn't run too far into this meeting. So I apologize if I did cut off people. I tried not to. I was just trying to make sure we're timely. Let's see. As we know from that meeting, the budget will be coming to us hopefully by May 15th. That's the intent. So therefore, we'll have to set up Zoom meetings to do the budget hearings. We are going to get a full budget. So once we get our copies, we'll call in groups of department heads, try and keep it relatively small to allow everyone to address their budget needs. As we know, it's going to be ongoing, and try and get it the best we can like we used to down at the chambers. Want to thank Ryan. Ryan worked very hard to get us our own Zoom for the city council. So that way we're not competing with other departments and whether we're getting blocked out or whatever. So we have our own account. We can have those budget meetings without interruption. We can have our committee meetings. I know finance met and we'll get a report from them. So thank you, Ryan, for getting that account set up. So that way it allows us to just keep doing what we're doing without any interruption. Finally would be, I did attend a Boys and Girls Club event. It was online. It was their bingo night. They did a really good job running that. If you didn't have a chance to do it, they're going to be doing it again. But one thing that came across, over 10,000 meals they have produced to Holyoke residents and stuff. So that, it's something just to be recognized, just a phenomenal job by that group. And I want to thank them for everything, as well as DPW. They're out there again collecting, doing everything, filling potholes. Councilor Leahy had a pothole issue on Dartmouth. That is filled. I mean, so they're working very hard. I just want to recognize all the people and all the work that they're doing in every department. So with that, we're on to reports of
Todd?
committee. Actually, you know what? I'll turn it over. I forgot to anyone else who has anything. Councilor Leahy, I heard you, so I see your hand up.
Yeah, thank you. As I said in the last meeting, there's certain people I just want to thank. I want to thank Michael Bloomberg, who did a good job at first. As I said at our last meeting, I was kind of skeptical. I wasn't sure what kind of job he was going to do. However, he met every need that I had. Anytime I had any questions or required information, he was right there. So I just wanted to give him a thank you as he transitions out and we get Mr. Trask on board. But I also want to give a shout out to some people who probably don't get a lot of shout outs, are the Postal Service employees. Those people are out there every single day delivering mail, and they're going to every part of the city of Holyoke. And I just think they should give a huge round of applause to those guys. And also, like today, we had the DPW by. I always make sure I go out there and I just want to say, hey, this is a service that I really appreciate. You guys are doing a fantastic job. But I also just want to thank all the people in City Hall and also the firefighters and the people who are providing meals. We had a lot of meals coming out of the Holyoke Public Schools and the Boys and Girls Club. And so that is obviously very important. So I just want to make sure we thank those people as well. And also the fire department. These people are going into fires and sometimes they're not sure what they're walking into. So I just want to give a big shout out to all those people. Thank you.
Councilor Lisi.
Thank you. I just also wanted to recognize all the City Hall workers for really, rolling with the punches and transitioning to new policies and procedures fairly seamlessly and keeping, the business of government moving forward. I also wanted to mention that yesterday, Ryan and I were on a call with the emergency management subcommittee that's been in charge of creating policies for how online meetings should be conducted, including public hearings. And there is a working document, it's not finalized. And we were able to just kind of look it over and play out how it would work if a real meeting were taking place, and different ways to protect the integrity of the meeting from Zoom bombers and that. So it seems that we will be ready to start holding public hearings the first week in June. And then the City Council Ordinance Committee would likely hold a public hearing on the 12th, and it may or may not be a joint public hearing with the Planning Board. And they were also represented on the call. So everybody that may be making use of the public meetings and or public hearings will be able to have a working document to create some guidelines for how those meetings will be conducted.
I think Councilor Tallman, your hand's up, I see.
No, I was just, I just was giving a thumbs up for what Jimmy was saying about all the workers out there, the frontline workers that are doing a great job day in and day out.
Thank you, Peter.
Councilor Sullivan, I see your hand up.
Yeah, and I'd like to give a special recognition and a shout out to the guys from the Holyoke DPW. They were out the other day having to pull mattresses and all kinds of trash out from behind Mitchell Field. Some of the stuff right now is going above and beyond the call of duty.
Councilor Anderson Burgos.
I'm going to plead with everybody that if you're not speaking, please put on the mute button, please.
All right, with that, on to reports of committee. There was no ordinance. Finance 4A, Committee on Finance, was referred in order that the City Council approve and update the intermunicipal agreement between the City of Holyoke with Amherst, Chicopee, East Hampton, Northampton, Springfield, South Hadley, West Springfield, Pioneer Valley Planning Commission, and the University of Massachusetts in Amherst. As signed by the mayor on March 11, 2020, OPED get a copy of the Finance Committee recommended the order be approved. Councilor McGivern.
Make a motion to receive and adopt.
Motion is to receive, adopt, under discussion.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is an order filed by Councilor Bartley. We thank Councilor Bartley for bringing this forward. It needed to come before us, and I think most of us are familiar with the Valley Bike Share. It's been around for the last 2 to 3 years, 2 years by contract. It's a fascinating program, which even if you were skeptical in the beginning, I see so much use by it. I hope when it gets back up and running that it'll be a wonderful asset as it has been for the last couple of years. A couple things to point out. This is a 5-year contract. Marcus Marrero presented the city's position on this, and the mayor felt that a 5-year contract would lock us into some of the needed connections with both the other municipalities and the Pioneer Valley Planning Authority, and with the people who own the company that owns the bikes and that we work with on this service itself. It's a contract that does require some financial input. It's a $7,300 this year, but it's a person that works within the city, and it's just a change of personnel that Marcus pointed out last night. I just like to thank the committee, and I'll let them take over because they vetted this contract. Even Marcus and I talked later, actually this morning, and he said he thought there were some great points brought up by committee members last night. They vetted the contract out, all kinds of interesting questions and points that were brought up. And Marcus has promised to look into more than a handful of them and to bring it to the attentions of the other people we're in agreement with. Again, well, it's within the order itself, but there's 6 other communities that we're in collaboration with, Pioneer Valley Planning Authority, and we recommend that we adopt this and allow the mayor to do this for 5 years.
I see Councilor Tallman. Is your hand up, or you're all set? All set. Councilor Leahy. You're on mute, Councilor Leahy.
All right, sorry about that. As Councilor McGivern said, we did have a very good meeting last night, and Marcos gave a really good breakdown of this program. I am definitely for this program for many different reasons. One is, promotes a healthy lifestyle. It's giving people exercise. It's giving people access to transportation. A lot of people that don't have cars. Some of my big concerns last night were, what's the liability of the city of Holyoke? These are bikes that the city owns. We owned pretty much all the hardware. However, the company will come in and fix the product, making sure that it works. The reason we're voting on it, it is a 5-year contract. I was concerned about bike helmets, but I didn't realize until last night that bike helmets are only the law to a certain age, where teenagers and adults don't have to wear bike helmets. I wasn't aware of that until last night. And I was also concerned about if damage occurs to the bike, whether it goes through a pothole or that sort of thing. But it's just like, I guess they're driving their own bikes. So after hearing all that information, I'm going to vote for this. Thank you.
Anyone else? Councilor Murphy.
Yeah, I'm going to vote for it, and I agree it's a good program. I did have a couple of questions, and I did a little more research today about, I'm going to pronounce it as B-Wagon, and I'm not really sure if that's the right way to pronounce it, but it is a for-profit company. They do this internationally. So, I mean, one of the concerns I had last night was, have we ever seen the financial report on a yearly basis of what they're making? And I'm not adverse to having them make money, but if they're making a phenomenal amount of money, maybe we can get some of that money back in a future contract. And the other part of it was that local veterans were to be hired to operate the system. And I didn't hear anybody indicating that we know that in fact has happened. So those are 2 questions as Marcos goes along and goes through the contract. I'd like to get where we get a yearly report of the financial operation that B-Wagon has, and that they've hired our local veterans to operate the system in Holyoke. Thank you.
Before I go to the next speaker or next counselor, just one point of clarification for all of us. Since this is coming out of committee, you have to sign the committee jacket, is the standard procedure. I'm assuming everyone is signing this one. As we all know,
Yes.
the rule, if there's not enough signatures, that won't come out of committee. So that'd be
Yes, you can.
McGivern, Councilor
You
Tallman.
sign my name? Yes.
Yeah, if you can have Brenna, I give her permission to sign my name, or.
All right, so I'm not hearing anyone saying no to sign their name this order. I just want to making sure that's clear because of
Mr.
the,
President, on that point, we actually talked about that in committee last night. And if you read the charter and the rules, you know, the signing of the jacket is to say that the committee vote did take place. Whether you vote yay or nay, what you're signing is that you were part of a committee that took up the issue. Our next item on the agenda is a split decision. And 5 people voted on it last night. I'm sorry, 5 people voted on it last night. So it's interesting. I'm glad you brought that up because obviously there's no way for us to sign jackets to say that this was the vote of the committee.
Right, but all right, so we're on board with that. I apologize for interrupting. I have in the queue Councilor Bartley next.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Mr. President. You look good in silhouette.
They said if you don't see my face, I look better, so it's good.
Not at all. I tell you, it's a nice frame. It's pretty cool looking. And just to echo what Councilor McGivern said a minute ago about the jacket, I think we have our rules, and so I would certainly be happy to add my name to this order. So I filed this on the behalf of OPED, but I think just before I forget, I thought Joe, if you correct me, I thought we referred that question to legal last night. Did we not?
No, what I said is Crystal should be with us this evening, and we certainly can talk to her about it.
Okay, I mean, should we defer now or should
I make a motion to defer, talk to Crystal.
Second.
So the motion is to allow legal to answer questions and speak. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Crystal, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Oh, okay. Oh,
Oh,
No, hold on. Okay. Is that better?
yes, thanks. Did you get to hear the question or?
So I heard the question. I mean, essentially, it's a city council rule. So you guys are always welcome to suspend your rules and do what you want with them. So if you don't want to keep the rule right now that everything needs to be signed, then you could motion to suspend your rules and make it so that in light of the circumstances, you could move forward knowing what the vote was last night to take it out of committee.
Any questions for follow-up questions?
I guess my only question, if I could, through the chair, virtually, is, you know, in other committees that I'm on, when we have to sign something, we give a permission. You know, this is being recorded. So, like having me say, I give permission to the city clerk to sign my name to this jacket. I think that's the way we should continue. Thank you.
So back to Councilor Bartley, who had the floor at the time.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. Then that was me that kind of put us to the side there, but we did have a good discussion, and I want to thank Joe again, as I've done numerous times on running a very good meeting, and especially last night. The Valley Bike thing, that's something that I filed on behalf of OPED, and at the last meeting, if you recall, we referred it to committee due to the fact, finance committee, due to the fact that there's a financial component this time. There wasn't the last time. So now there's an obligation. There's an annual payment of $9,610. And that's where it is at this point. And that's kind of on a somewhat of a sliding scale, Mr. President. And it's relative, the way I understand it, to the number of bike pads that are in the municipality. So currently Holyoke has 9, and there's a plan for 3 additional bike pads. And we had a pretty good discussion last night about that, and we raised the issue because I had not heard that prior to last night. We raised the issue of, because the suggestions were, well, the mall and the private property, or Kmart Plaza, private property, and I said, well, why don't you reach out to the ward councilors, or any of council really, and see if they can provide some feedback. So we offered some feedback last night, suggesting Jones Ferry, we suggested Jones Point, we suggested Whiting and Ashley Reservoir. So that in addition to Kmart and the mall, and the reason, Mr. President, as you well know, is that if we go to private property, we're going to need to get do either friendly taking or an easement, and that always adds another layer of complication when it comes to that. And then, as Councilor Leahy pointed out repeatedly last night, and wisely so in my opinion, is the issue of liability, and that's one that's always a question, especially on private property. So it just things of that nature, I think we have to be prudent about. So hopefully we'll hear from Mr. Marrero in a little more detail. We were very concerned about the financial component, and Mr. Marrero at least put me at ease last night. And he stated a couple things. One is that there's a mass motion grant of which there's some extra money available. And then there's also, and that's about 7,000 on ballparking. There's about 2,500 available in a line item from his office, and he was going to get me the details on that in an email. I haven't seen that email yet, but I'm confident that he'll provide to me the source of the specific source of the funding from his budget and the specific source from the mass motion grant. And so that was pretty that was pretty helpful, I thought. The let's see, the number of communities, I think there are 8, and then you add UMass, there's 2 or 3 new communities added. I think Chicopee is new, Westfield, and I want to say West Springfield are new, in addition to the other communities, which were Holyoke and Springfield. And so I think we got to compliment the mayor on this, as well as Marcos kind of leading the charge, getting Holyoke involved some 3 years ago. We want to thank Pioneer Valley Planning Commission for its leadership in this as well. I think, though, that there are several outstanding questions, and one is financial management. 2 is Council Murphy mentioned, the private for-profit vendor. There is a component in there relative to financial management in which that's supposed to be disclosed. We've asked for that. There's also an advisory committee that basically has basically has no power, but it's advisory, and there are meeting minutes, and we asked for copies of those as well. So I'm hopeful that we'll get regular updates on those pieces. Going forward, Mr. President, last point, as I think we discussed numerous times, just the precarious nature of finances in municipal government, and particularly in our municipal government. Mr. Marrero mentioned something I had never heard until last night, that there's I wish I had my, well, wait a minute, I do have it.
PNC. Right, Dave?
You were listening.
I was listening.
I thought those eyes were closing, Pete, but I was, but no, I tell you, it's just that's Pete Tallman resting his eyes. But you were good. Yeah, TNC. It's a transit network company. Apparently, Mr. President, and I think you filed this order, Todd, if I remember, a couple years ago, and it was to get a tax for the Ubers and the Lyfts and whatever, the rideshare, I think they call it. Yeah. And so apparently there's a 20-cent, so 0.20 cent. I'll call it tax. I don't know what you can call it, a fee, whatever you want, that goes somewhere, and the Commonwealth then diverts that to municipalities. This started in 2018, Mr. President, where the city of Holyoke received $7,000. I asked the finance chair, and I put him on the spot, and it wasn't really fair because but I think the finance chair did a great job answering, whether or not we had to approve. It's not a grant, but whether we have to approve it. And it's almost kind of like a Chapter 90 or Chapter 70 thing, where it's like the finance chair says, really like a cherry sheet issue, which I have no reason to question him. I'm pretty sure he'd be spot on with that, but it would have at least been nice to have somebody pluck that out and tell us prior to last night. Nevertheless, it's a good thing. Holyoke received $7,000 in 2018. Now, I don't know what happened to the money. I assume it just went to the general fund. And then in 2019, Holyoke received $12,000. And the thinking for Mr. Marrero is that in 21 through 25, as you heard one of the prior counselors speak, that this contract runs through sometime in October or November of 25, that this source of the transit network company, TNC, will really be the source of funds to pay for the city of Holyoke's fees to be part of this. So I know that said a lot, but I wanted to get that out there for counselors that weren't able to attend the meeting. I also want to thank, Counselor Graney really added some really good questions last night that helped me, because I'm not going to go into details because we could watch the meeting, but talking about ridership, talking about fees and costs related to for individuals that use this service, fees and costs. Those were all explained last night by Mr. Marrero, and I took a lot of notes on that. But if anybody's interested, they can reach out to me or watch the meeting. So with that, I would just add in conclusion that I'm comfortable with this program now that it's been fully vetted and explained, and I'm ready to support it going forward.
Councillor Tallman.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. Dave, you stole my thunder. You said everything I wanted to say. My main concern of this 5-year contract with the bike share was the financial impact to the city. And I did ask the question on how this was going to be paid for. And as Councilor Bartley stated, through the fund, through this TNC for the money coming in. And so that was my main concern. And I think it's important to have this program for our city residents, especially people that can't get on buses or can't afford a car to get around the city. It's crucial that we keep this program going. And with the 3 new cities coming in, my also concern was could the cost come down eventually? And there was no real answer for that. But I think as more cities get involved with the rideshare program, there might be some savings in our community. But I was happy to hear that this program will be paid for through the money coming in through the the Ubers and the Lyft tax that comes back to the city in the cherry sheet, and that it won't be a financial burden on our local budget. So great job, Joe, for running the meeting, and all the counselors that asked really good questions. I really learned a lot about this rideshare program. I'm looking forward to future reports that will be coming through this from the program from the city of Northampton, who actually runs the program for our community.
Councillor Lisi.
Thank you. I was just going to make some similar comments as Councillor Tallman, where I think that as more communities join, you get to drive down the cost of operating the network, the bike share network, and then the revenues that we receive back from more usage across the additional communities really starts to pay for itself in terms of the revenue coming back into the city. I also wanted to note that I believe that the organization that is veterans servicing the bicycles and transplanting them, you see them from time to time restocking some of the bike pads. That's core logistics as far as I understand. And it is a veteran owned and staffed organization that is doing that work for the Valley Bike Share.
Any other hands? Any other comments? No, if not, the motion was to receive and adopt and since it's our 5-year contract, we'll have the clerk call a roll and record the vote.
Anderson Burgos,
Yes.
Bartley,
Yes.
Rainey,
Yes.
Hernandez,
Yes.
Leahy,
Yes.
LeBron Martinez,
Yes.
Lisi,
Yes.
McGee,
Yes.
McGivern,
Yes.
Murphy. Murphy,
He's on mute. He's on mute.
Terry, you're on
Yes.
mute.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Sullivan,
Yes.
Tallman,
Yes.
Bacon.
Yes.
Unanimous vote.
For your vote, you approve the 5-year contract. 4B, the Committee on Finance was referred in order in accordance with Mass General Law, Chapter 44, Section 53A. The City Council hereby accept the provisions of the Bar Foundation Clean Energy Transition Grant. Recommended that be denied. Councilor McGivern.
We could make the motion to receive the committee report and to adopt the committee report, which, as you stated, is to deny. It's a split decision, 3-2.
Motion
Second.
is to receive, adopt, that it be denied under discuss. Under discussion.
President, if I can make, I think I can make the report quickly and explain. We've met on this issue twice now. It did come out of committee once before. The committee agreed to, and the city council, but the committee agreed up front to allow it to go back to committee to give more time for the city to look into a couple issues that are bothering, I think, pretty much the entire membership of the city council. But we talked about it at great length last night, and just the facts first, and then some of the reasons. I want to let all the members, of course, I'm sure, are going to want to speak on this and give the reasons for why they support denying it. And myself and Councilor Tallman were the two that voted not to deny it. Facts: the grant itself is for $275,000 to support a clean energy grant that would provide services that the city of Holyoke would use to put together a plan in place to deal with a lot of issues that center around the clean energy issues of the day. The grant itself is filed. Marcus Morero made the presentation for the city last night, and he went through the details for the second time as to how the money would be used, and he answered all of our questions and went through great length as to what's taken place since the last time we did look at this and the last time we worked on it. The facts are simple. The grants for $275,000 will be used to hire both a project manager that will be out there to do this type of study. Things that they could be looking at is the homes and residential homes that need to transition to be able to take and change or transition to some different type of clean energy as to what they're using currently. They'll be doing studies, working with collecting data and providing data to support possible solutions to clean energy. Now that is, in a nutshell, what the grant is about. The arguments and the debates centered around that, but took into the fact that written into the grant is that a component of the study would be taken on by neighbor to neighbor, and that component would be community outreach. Just a couple facts: neighbor to neighbor will not get one penny from the $275,000. Neighbor to neighbor, is this. I apologize. I got to step back a second. The money comes from the Bar Foundation. For those of you who are not familiar with the Bar Foundation, they were founded in 1997. They've been around for 22, 23 years now. An incredibly large foundation. This year alone, the grants that they are dispersing total $97 million. Over the year, they have given out over $900 million since 1997 in grants. They're a foundation that is interested in a variety of things. One of the things I'd love to see in the future is that the Bar Foundation would support the Holyoke Gas and Electric itself to do this type of study. And I pointed out, and I followed up this morning with the superintendent of the Gas and Electric at our first meeting. The Gas and Electric was represented by Brian Beauregard. He answered a lot of questions, and the questions were centered around what the Gas and Electric felt. Although they will be in some type of collaboration with the study, they're not objecting to it. They made it clear, I think every one of us, as maybe I shouldn't say every one of us, but most of us have publicly stated that we are unhappy that neighbor to neighbor, a community group that staged a protest in the Gas and Electric last year in the offices, did so in such a fashion. And many of us are on record stating that, the Gas and Electric is not happy about it. A lot of us are not happy about it. More importantly, employees and customers of the Gas and Electric the day it happened were very upset about the whole incident itself. Now, so you ask, why would we want to accept the grant? Well, again, Neighbor to Neighbor is founded directly by the Bar Foundation itself. I don't know the details. That's between them and the Bar Foundation. How much the Bar Foundation gives them, but they are and always have been a strong supporter of neighbor to neighbor. We asked Marcus Marrero at that first meeting to contact the Bar Foundation and to see if we could amend the agreement to change the group that would be doing the community reach out. We did so knowing and citing that incident that took place at the Gas and Electric headquarters itself. About 10 days ago, Marcus contacted me and said, after 2 or 3 months of talking, after 2 or 3 months of, I don't know if you would call it negotiating, but after 2 or 3 months of reasoning with the Bar Foundation, they thanked Marcus and said that they would not amend the contract, that it would be up to the city to accept it or deny it. They did ask that we would take a final vote on it fairly soon, so that they don't have to rescind it, and that at least we could be on record as a full city council as to whether we are in favor of accepting the grant money or whether we are in opposition. I did contact the superintendent of the Gas and Electric today. I did follow up on some of the items that were said last night. And again, the Gas and Electric is not in opposition to this grant. And we talked about this at both meetings, are ongoing for the last 20 years, have been looking at the carbon footprints and the clean energy issues and the type of fuel that they as a municipal gas and electric have had to distribute, within the city of Holyoke. And I pointed out, and I think we all know the history of Holyoke is we were founded on, with the hydro wheel on the river. We have hydroelectric power since the late 1800s. We now own that dam, which was once owned by Northeast Utilities. There are many manufacturers, not many operating, but some that still have wheels within their buildings that can or did operate at one time. We have solar energy. I would say we're up there as far as any community with the amount of solar energy that is produced within the city. The Gas and Electric has studied the possibility of wind turbines on the mountain. There are some difficult issues to make that affordable, but something that they have thought about. And the Gas and Electric continues to do different studies about what the future is going to be and how they can change the way we as consumers use energy within this city. They just finished a study with the University of Massachusetts, which those results will be released soon. But this is an ongoing thing with the Gas and Electric. They are, probably the lead municipal gas and electric when it comes to clean energy and what they do. And it's just a tribute to both our municipality, but to the city in terms of what green energy is. Now, I'm not going to speak for the 3 members who are asking that the city council deny it. I know they have strong reasons. Quite frankly, I don't disagree with the reasons and what's behind their reasons. I've stated publicly and do agree that what neighbor did was wrong. That type of protest to me doesn't bring anything productive. It's not proactive. It's not the type of protest that is necessary, certainly within a municipal gas and electric that promotes clean energy the way the Holyoke Gas and Electric does. Mr. President, I know sometimes we do this as a majority-minority report. I try to just give the facts. I'm going to certainly ask that the committee members, the 3 that made the recommendation to deny, will say their speak and let everybody vet out the arguments behind this. This is one of those votes that, if you vote in favor of taking the money, it's not necessarily a bad thing. If you vote to deny the money, it's not necessarily a bad thing. There's arguments that go both ways, and I certainly can understand the reasoning behind the vote. But the amount of money is important. That as a city council, I think we should decide as a group, and I think we should give good consideration to the fact that not only is it $275,000, but it's opening the door to a foundation that could fund a lot of projects in the future. Sorry for the lengthy report, and I apologize, but I thank the committee members last night for their vetting of this very important grant that's in front of us.
Councillor Tallman.
I'm all set.
Oh, okay. Councillor Leahy.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, we did have a good meeting. I wasn't sure if this can be brought up tonight or not, because I don't think that any person signed the jacket, at least audibly. But what happened at the Gas and Electric is awful. It's terrible. It's shocking. that a group would act like that. However, that's not the reason why I'm not going to vote for this. There's many different reasons why I'm not going to vote for this. And one of the biggest ones is if you look through the executed grant agreement with the city of Holyoke, what their goals are to go door to door. I think at this time, I don't want to encourage any groups going door to door in the city of Holyoke. I just don't think that is reasonable. And it also, if you look at the outputs, one of the things it talks about is using, well, first I just want to correct something. Last night, Marcos, who I think does a fantastic job, kept saying this isn't about, the agreement and neighbor to neighbor. However, if you look through the agreement, it's all neighbor to neighbor. And I also want to, if you look at the beginning of the agreement, not to correct Joe, but they anticipate the schedule for submitting the funds December 20th, 2019 for $150,000, September 18th, which is my son's birthday, $125,000, and both payments will be paid when the city of Holyoke and the progress report with the other group have used or will be consistent with the purpose of the grant, subsequent in accordance with budget. So it looks like it goes hand in hand there. I'm not an attorney, but that's what it seems to me. But if you just look at the different outcomes, technical support, well, if you look at the group that's doing it, I don't think that's in their wheelhouse. Very nice group, good people, I'm sure. However, we have the best people at the Holyoke Gas and Electric. Technical support, technical design, I want Jimmy Lavelle and his team doing that. We have the people to do so now. Clean energy, we're in the forefront as Councilor President, as Joe said, start off with the dam. We had, I think the first original dam broke down and then the second dam came up and we have many different canals through the city, and it's the reason businesses came here. And the city of Holyoke was based off this. I just don't think this is a good agreement for the city at this time. Thank you.
Councilor Lisi, and then Councilor Sullivan, I see your hand up. You'll be next.
Thank you. I just wanted to say that I think it's a tremendous honor and really huge opportunity that the Barr Foundation wants to recognize us and fund us for technical consulting in making a model for transitioning to a green energy future. I think that they're working with us, from what I understand, because in part we do have excellent history and footing in terms of green energy. The hydroelectric dam isn't currently recognized as green energy, but I think we all understand that it is green energy. The entire city of Holyoke is really founded on the hydroelectric power that's generated by that dam. And this is, the city has also in the past years done a lot of work through the council in passing the Green Communities Act. We were a lead in the state of Massachusetts for passing the Green Communities Act, and I think we've taken the lead in a number of other areas. And I think we're being recognized for that early work that we've done in promoting green energy and climate mitigation, and now we are being given again, I really think of it as an honor and an opportunity to be a model for what a just transition to renewable energy future looks like. And the $275,000 is for the city of Holyoke itself. And the Barr Foundation has chosen Neighbor to Neighbor as a partner because they actually have been working on green transition a just transition to green energy for many years now. They were very much involved in the transition of the Mount Tom coal-fired power plant. When we learned that the Mount Tom coal-fired power plant was going to be shuttering, they really came on board and helped to create a vision and a plan for how the community could utilize that space and revision and repurpose that land there. And I think that, again, I think it's absolutely within their wheelhouse. It's something that the city of Holyoke has been taking a lead on. We get to really now launch ourselves into the national spotlight by accepting this grant. and I'm very much in favor of it. And we think it's absolutely foolish for anyone to turn down $275,000 when we see already the huge number of transitions that are taking place right before our eyes. We need to really, begin to make this transition anyway. And if we could be set up as a model in the nation to lead for what a just transition to clean energy looks like, I'm all for it. Thank you.
Councillor Sullivan, you're next.
Yep. Thank you. I'm still very much opposed to this. A lot of the reasons have already been stated, so I'll be brief. The biggest reason is it does not make Holyoke Gas and Electric the leading voice in choosing a technical consultant. Neighbor to Neighbor still has a voice in choosing a technical consultant. People with no technical history or track record are going to have a say in who they hire. And we've already learned from their actions in the past that they have their own agenda. They're going to hire who they want and who supports their agenda, not what's right. The Bar Foundation has refused to renegotiate. They're coming at us with it's our money, take it or leave it. Not what's good for you, not what the city needs, what they want to see jammed down our throat, jammed down the throat of Holyoke Gas and Electric. All right. As far as opening a door to a larger foundation, there's no point in opening a door under those kind of terms and conditions. All right. If there's monies to be had from them for a good cause, they ought to be partnering with us and not placing demands, restrictions, and take it or leave it deals on the table. That's not a partnership. I don't think that's the kind of people we want to be involved in. They're promoting their own agenda. All right. Neighbor to Neighbor is still going to go, as Councilor Leahy's fear is, that's still going to be out there. They're still going to get their money and they're still going to go door to door promoting their agenda, which is not necessarily what's right for the city. All right. As far as if they really wanted to help the city under the guidance of Holyoke Gas and Electric, and for those who don't realize what we really do have in hydropower here, right? We also have a place called Riverside Station. Everybody talks about the dam. We have room for another hydro unit because of the lack of usage of old and retired units along the rest of the canal at Riverside. They could jump in the game on any one of these, which is hydro, all right? Proven technology, no need for research, no need for a lot of wasted money, surveys, anything else. There's other things available where they could get right into the game. And if they want to jump into that game, they could do it for a couple of $1 million, which would be more appropriate.
Councillor Bartley.
Oh, yeah. Thank you, Mr. President. We're just playing around with something. Give me half a second here. Yeah, thanks to all the speakers, and thanks again to the finance chair. Did a great job last night because that was a tough meeting. Let me put this way: who would turn down $275,000 without a matching grant? Who would do that? There'd have to be a reason, right? So I'm going to list off a few reasons, but let me just step back for a second. Has anyone received any kind of written support from the gas and electric to date? Does we have a communication from the G&E supporting this grant and a communication from the G&E stating how these funds are going to help advance the position of the gas and electric? I know I haven't received it. Maybe the manager, the G&E, has had conversations with people offline, but I'm going to suggest initially that if a city agency is going to be I'm not sure if a city agency is going to be a beneficiary of a grant, I would suggest to you that there be something in writing from that city agency to say just that, nothing to date. So I'm going to put that argument out there just for your consideration. The neighbor to neighbor argument. We heard earlier from a prior speaker that this vote has no financial impact on neighbor to neighbor. Great. I don't care a whit about impacting neighbor to neighbor financially. But don't kid yourselves about the connection between this grant and neighbor to neighbor. This is from the Barr Foundation itself. The city of Holyoke and Neighbor to Neighbor Massachusetts established a partnership with clear channels of communication and coordination for selection and management of consultants to provide technical support in facilitating and drafting an energy transition plan. Can you imagine? So Holyoke Gas and Electric, with 100+ years of history, and the city of Holyoke partner with an advocacy group about facilitating and drafting energy transition. This is beautiful. You just heard from another speaker to my friends and colleagues, how Neighbor to Neighbor helped shut down the Mount Tom power plant. How many times have we heard the finance
Excuse me, I did not say that. I did not say that. I said when we learned that they were shutting
Mr.
down,
President,
we understood the implications
Wait,
and
Mr.
that they were
President.
involved in transitioning,
Well,
creating a transition
everyone-
plan for what would
everyone,
come next.
please. We'll have
I don't
everyone
want my words
speak.
misrepresented. No,
All right.
we're not going to take this. We're not going to be
Both
bullied by Counselor Bartley. Meeting
Counselor Bartley, Counselor Lisi, order, please. Order, please. Both.
Are you set, Mr. President?
Go ahead, Counselor.
Thank you, Mr. President. I can imagine the reaction if I'd done that. We've heard how this organization helped lead the charge to shut down the Mount Tom power plant. We heard from the finance chair numerous times relative to that $600,000 tax loss to the city of Holyoke. This is a group, again, that the Barr Foundation, as a prior speaker said, is jamming down the throat of the city of Holyoke. I think we're aware of, most of us are aware, some of you are paying attention, are aware of the actions that Neighbor to Neighbor took at the Holyoke Gas and Electric. I think most of us are aware of the mayor's manifesto relative to shutting off what he considers to be a dirty fossil fuel, which, by the way, I think if we understand HG&E, Holyoke Gas and Electric. So, Mr. President, if you take this to the nth degree, as a matter of fact, you don't have to take it to the nth degree. The outcome, bullet point number 2, to reduce consumption of fossil fuel energy down to or near zero. That's the goal. That's the goal. So the G in the gas and electric might as well go away. I just can't, in good conscience, support this grant. For a counselor to say it's foolish to vote this way, I mean, it's outrageous. Every counselor's vote here is to be respected and honored. To have that kind of attitude is disrespectful, in my opinion, to counselors and taking a vote in good conscience. So I think just reading it, Mr. President, in its plain view, I think it's. I'll just add one other point. It's hard to see the future, whether or not this paper will produce any kind of significant outcome. At $275,000 for one consultant for a year and a half, I'm not terribly optimistic. Furthermore, and a last point, I'm not terribly optimistic about whether the Barr Foundation, and I appreciate its multi-million-dollar legacy over decades, if the Barr Foundation will ever come back around to Holyoke again. Frankly, with this kind of attitude, I would rather not see them here. Thank you.
Councilor Anderson Burgos.
Mr. President?
Thank you, Mr. President.
Hold on one second, Councilor Anderson Burgos, because Councilor Graney can't see us. Councilor Graney, you had a question?
No, I just wanted to make a comment.
Hold on, Councilor. You'll be put in the queue. Councilor Anderson Burgos, and then it'll be you, and then we'll go back to those who have their hands up again for a second. So, Councilor Anderson Burgos.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would like to hear suspend the rules and allow Mike Bloomberg, since he raised his hand. I'd like to hear him weigh on this, please, if you don't mind.
So Counselor is asked to suspend the rules to allow Mike Bloomberg to answer questions, I guess is what we're asking. That is seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
No.
All right, so ayes would have it. Counselor Anderson Burgos has asked Mike, you're on mute, so I'd say unmute, and we'll go from there. Counselor Anderson Burgos, do you have a question for him, or what was the overall?
I would just like for him to weigh on this, because this is a very important vote, and I want to hear his opinion on this.
All right, Mike, to you.
Sure. Yeah, there were, I want to keep it factual and to just points of clarification, and if that's okay with everyone. So I have the grant agreement here, and there's just a few things I wanted to clarify. So there are a list of outputs and outcomes, some of which were read, but I believe there's a lack of clarity, it seems, on the role of neighbor to neighbor in these conversations. And so, for example, one of the outputs is that the city of Holyoke and neighbor to neighbor establish a partnership with clear channels of communication and coordination for selection and management of consultants to provide technical support in facilitating and drafting the energy transition plan.
Jesus,
and I can see how that can be confusing in the sense of the technical consultants and the number of technical consultants here. So there's really two buckets. There's the plans to use some of this funds to have either internal or external support in a project manager type role. That would be working with the city in terms of drafting a plan. But there is also a portion of this funding that neighbor to neighbor is not the core partner on, but that is coming to the city that we can utilize for hiring external technical consultants for doing data analysis. And one of the examples that we have is the Rocky Mountain Institute, who the city helped bring in and is currently doing some work with the Holyoke Gas and Electric, and was brought in as part of the early planning process of this grant. So I just wanted to be clear, like in terms of the deep dive analysis on energy uses and housing things, that's a different silo than the partnerships in determining who the project manager and putting the report together is. I did want to talk about energy transition and what that means, and part of the reasons why we're having this conversation is energy transition under this report and under the Barr Foundation's view goes beyond the actual solely the energy provider, but recognizes things such as insulation, access, housing, and that's the portion of this that's really city specific. So much of this is tied into our planning department, our parks department, our housing, that it's not just the generation and consumption of energy and the type of energy that's used. So we agree that locally there's certainly no better person to understand how to generate the energy than Holyoke Gas and Electric. But when it comes to integrating energy saving measures into the community, that's largely what this is set up and being offered to us for. And then third, I do want to I want to actually double down and clarify something that Councilor Bartley said, and the concerns that this could lead down a path that would eliminate gas from Holyoke Gas and Electric. I just want to be clear, that is entirely the intention of the mayor, of this grant, of the Barr Foundation, and of the folks around the world who are doing work on energy transition. We're not getting rid of gas tomorrow, and we recognize, and the reasons why groups like Neighbor to Neighbor have been engaged in this is to bring in groups who recognize that often even energy transitions, especially when they involve eliminating fossil fuels, impact the folks who have a marginalized voice and marginalized participation within the community. And so this isn't about eliminating energy sources. This is not about reducing consumption solely, but this is about the big picture of a community and the country as where we're going with energy usage. But I do want to be 100% correct and say that Councilor Bartley is 100% correct, that we would love to see a world where it's just Holyoke Electric, or Holyoke Hydro and Electric, or Holyoke Electric and Telecom. That is very much the intention of a long-term thing. Now, everybody recognizes, we all recognize we're not going to get there in 2 years, we're not going to get there probably in 10 years, but the types of things we need to do, the people we need to listen to and engage with in the community, that's what this grant is put forward with, to understand the at-home circumstances of the most marginalized people in our community, to understand how they're using energy, what they need it for, and what different policies and procedures would impact them the most. That's all I have to say. Happy to answer any questions.
Councilor Anderson Burgos, did you have anything further before I move on, or?
No, thank you so much. That was very insightful. Thank you.
Councilor Graney.
Yes, I believe that this grant is an attempt to basically introduce a political agenda, the political agenda of the Green New Deal into Holyoke. And I believe that in the long run, that the withdrawal from the gas and electric, the withdrawal from natural gas and the Holyoke Gas and Electric is going to cost the residents of Holyoke a great deal in the future to come. We may think that the Green New Deal is a wonderful idea that's going to happen in the future, but it's not going to be able to happen in the future until we have replacement energy or a system of energy that we can hold before such a thing happens. And I don't believe that this is in the best interest of the taxpayers, the people who are going to pay the freight in the city of Holyoke. So I'm definitely opposed to this grant.
Councilor Vacan.
Thank you, Mr. President. I was able to attend, I believe, all of the meetings relative to this grant. And I was actually hopeful that the foundation would entertain a dialogue with the city so that the HG&E could become a central partner in looking at the future and possible transitions, as well as looking at ensuring the current safe supply of natural gas upon which much of our city relies and upon which our business growth relies and is currently really strangled by, as you see the propane tanks throughout the city. So I'm really disappointed that the foundation took what I feel is a very heavy-handed approach. And I've had dealings with neighbor to neighbor separately from what happened at the gas and electric. I don't see them as having the expertise relative to this matter. And I see this as undermining the HG&E. I don't see support from HG&E. I've been in the room with them on this matter. And I feel that it is truly and very clearly a political and agenda-driven grant for all the stated purposes that Mr. Bloomberg just made. And I do not see
climate change is science, not politics.
Sorry, Mike, you cannot. No, you cannot. Councilor Vacan has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. And so at this time, I do not see this in being in the best interest of the city or supported by HG&E, who've been always very professional and communicative about any and all the endeavors that we've undertaken in the city. So I do not find myself able to support this grant at this time. Thank you.
Councilor Lisi.
Thank you. I just want to go through a couple of points really quickly. First of all, I want to make sure that my earlier points are not misrepresented as they already had been. When we learned that the Mount Tom power plant was shuttering, we created as the city council a group to figure out how to transition that property to some other community use. And Neighbor to Neighbor was at the forefront of helping to convene that community study group. That's number one. Number two, I just want to clarify that the G&E is not, is not a city department. It is a quasi-municipal agency. They have been, to my knowledge and my understanding, at all of the meetings related to this sort of collaboration that's going to happen. This is not a workaround to the G&E. They're going to be at the table working to create a transition. And transitions have happened in the past. Like when I first moved to this city, we were taking down the steam lines. So clearly at one point in time, the G&E, through its hydroelectric generation, was also providing steam to a lot of the manufacturing and mills. We are no longer providing steam to manufacturing and mills in the city. We've transitioned to gas and electric. I only had a gas line put in on my road within the past 5 years. So energy is always in transition. What we want to do here with this grant is figure out again how to transition to a just and clean energy future. And I think, as Mr. Bloomberg pointed out, it's not going to happen overnight. I have mentioned in the past that I actually am pro pipeline because I see the pipeline and this city's access to gas at the present moment as a social justice issue, because all the neighboring communities and towns have been able to grow and develop using natural gas and other fossil fuel energies. And if we get shut out of that opportunity to grow our city, I see that as a social justice issue for the city of Holyoke. I think that it is inefficient, unrealistic, and it's just not going to be a possibility to actually transition to a green or clean energy future without utilizing the infrastructure that we have for gas and electric. But at the same time, while we're utilizing and drawing down on those resources, we need to be building the infrastructure for the future. And this is what this grant is all about. It's a planning grant for how to transition, not 5 years from now, not 10 years from now, but being able to lay out a phased plan for making that transition eventually. And then finally, to the points that were made about the G&E being a very communicative body towards the city council, and I want to know, has anyone heard emphatically that the G&E is opposed to this? Because I have not gotten any communication affirmatively or discouraging this. And to me, I think that speaks again to the fact that the G&E is not a city department. It's a quasi-municipal agency. This grant is coming to the city, not the G&E. And therefore, the G&E, as it usually does, steps to the side and says, hey, you know what? This is not our business. This is not our decision. We represent, as the city of Holyoke, the taxpayers, and the G&E will say it over and over again that the G&E does not represent the citizens of Holyoke. They represent the ratepayers. They have different interests, and they're not communicating anything in favor or against this, which says to me that they are neutral here. They are letting the city make its own decision for itself. Thank you.
Councilor McGivern for the first time.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just a couple of follow-ups, and again, I think I noted with the committee report that there was quite a lengthy discussion last night and quite a diverse group of opinions and where we're going on this. But I just want to make sure we're all clear that Neighbor to Neighbor is not going to be the project manager. They are not the ones that are going to look and provide the technical assistance. They are tied into being a community reach out and to come up with, making sure that all members of our community are reached in terms of what the blueprint plan is going to be for our housing stock, for our commercial stock, and for everybody who's using energy. As we sit home shuttered, I'm sure you've all seen the maps where the pollution, that is centered around our major municipalities, New York City, Los Angeles, the pollution that comes from New York City, the Midwest, into New England. is down. You know, as we sit at home, you know, we're conserving energy, and we're learning, you know, things about what's going on. There are people out there that study the sounds of the earth, and they're saying there is sounds of the earth that they can hear that is incredible from miles away. And it's just, I think it's just a point that I'm trying to make, is that we as a community, we as a region, we as a state, as a country, all know we have to address the issues of energy, and we need to do so. And this is one study. It's not going to change anything that you know the gas and electric is not going to be mandated by this study. The city of Holyoke is not going to be mandated by this study. The data, the information that is collected and put together could be useful in future proposals and projects as we transition. It's something that we need to pay attention to. The Green New Deal is, you know, is idealistically something that, you know, maybe we're all thinking about, or something that we all want to get to, but it's cost prohibitive. We know, and I think it's been said more than once, I'm just going to repeat it, fossil fuel is not going away completely. We know natural gas is not going away. We are still going to need the demand for energy, especially when we come out of this quarantine and get back to you know, whatever life has in store for us. But again, I just want to make sure we understand the gas and electric was brought up. The first meeting, Brian Beauregard made it clear the gas and electric, as their issues with neighbor to neighbor, are not opposed to this grant. Mr. Lavelle told me today the gas and electric is not opposed to this grant. You know, would they like to be part of the grant? Would they like to be more of a partner within this themselves? Sure, they would. Should they be? My opinion, probably yes. But there's still something that can come out of this that we can use. Something that I think we all need to be thinking about, something that is important to us, not just as a community, but as a country, and as the entire world needs to focus on, is how to resolve these problems that come with the carbon footprint, especially the one that's created by fossil fuel itself. $275,000, yes, it's a lot of money. You know, is it going to produce something? We don't know. Who the project manager is, we don't know at the moment. We do know that the city has the control over it, not neighbor to neighbor. We know that the people we brought in to give their input into it have been assured that that will be part of what this project will be about. Could it be done better? Yes. Do we need to go forward with it? It's up to each of us as an individual. Quite frankly, I'd like to take the $275,000, because I do believe in the future we can convince the Bar Foundation to start to fund the gas and electric, to learn how we can reduce energy rates, to learn how we can better provide energy to the consumers. And yes, the gas and electric is not the city, but the consumers are the city, and the consumers are the voters, hand in hand. It goes. There's no consumer within the gas and electric that isn't a voter within the city itself. A couple communities that we do sell to, and that's very limited. Again, consideration, $275,000. We can do something with it. We're not going to know until we see the final project, but we do know that we have to do something, and at least it's a step forward. And I just would ask you to consider in voting in favor of accepting the grant.
Councilor Bacon is next.
Thank you, Mr. President. I do appreciate the finance chair's optimism relative to the Bar Foundation, and I would share that optimism if they had taken a more collaborative approach with us on this grant, as it's been reported to us from our department. And so I wish I could be persuaded by that optimistic view, but I'm just not seeing it in the reality of the negotiations that took place when we decided to keep it open, giving it the opportunity for that to happen. Thank you.
Councilor Leahy.
Yeah, thank you. I just want to make sure I'm saying something new. The last thing anybody wants to hear is something that's been repetitive throughout the night. I guess maybe just a question to you, Todd, is how do we proceed? Because this was voted 3-2 down. And I think we've talked more about this than we have on many other things. So what's the vote going to consist of tonight?
So right now, the order is recommended that it be denied. So the motion in the first reading is that it be denied. So if you vote yes to deny it, in essence, you'd need I'd say 9 votes not to deny it in order to pass it. Because in order to pass a financial transfer, you need 9.
Right. Okay. And my last maybe statement or question is the fact that somebody had mentioned that Mr. Beauregard. So I was the one that was asking questions, and we're all aware, but I asked him point blankly if this is something that you're representing the gas and electric, something that they want. And I'm a very good person. I'm a very good person at reading people's faces. And he paused, he thought about his words, and he did a good job answering it. But it wasn't, yes, we're jumping up in joy for this. He was very polite. He was very businesslike, but that's not the way it happened. The way it's been portrayed tonight is not the way. Thank you.
Councilor Sullivan had his hand up. Councilor Sullivan.
Hey, one other thing we ought to consider too is this is going to take up time and resources in our Office of Planning and Economic Development also. All right.
That's what the money's for.
Oh,
Mike,
great.
I'm telling you, Mike, you got to stop. You can't chime in anymore.
Yeah, I'm out of here. Have a good night.
Councilor Sullivan, the floor is yours.
I'm out of here. He doesn't want to listen to any criticism. Anyway, so here we go. So some of the money goes to OPED. Already, we just had another fire last week. Another building burnt down that we were trying to get taken care of. Nope, that's gone now too. A danger and a threat to the neighborhoods. More abandoned buildings that aren't being taken care of. We're stagnant as far as economic growth. The city is blighted. We've got drug problems. We've got all kinds of stuff going on where OPED needs to address what they have on their plate already without adding something new to it. And we can't even take care of some of the basics, infrastructure problems we have already. Holyoke Gas and Electric has programs also. Energy surveys, free energy audits, loans for people to conserve energy. Yeah, this would be great. We're just going to spread ourselves even thinner than we already are spread now. That's it.
Mr. President?
Yeah, Councilor Graney, I hear you.
Yes, just quickly. It seems that, we get into a discussion like this, and it seems to be people taking sides. It's either my way or the highway type of situation, and I don't understand that. I think everybody has a decent point. I think that we should discuss these items in a civil manner, and I think there's room for disagreement, and I think reasonable people certainly have a right to disagree. Just to make one point, we talk about this green energy, et cetera, but nobody really knows what impact solar panels are going to have on the wildlife. Nobody knows what impact windmills are going to have on the wildlife or the environment. And a lot of conservationists have not even been able to do a study that's going to that can give us any concrete answers on that. It's too early. I would think that we should, as a group, we can disagree, but we don't need to be walking out or I'm out of here or any of that nonsense. Okay, let's just go to a vote and in a civil manner, either say yes to this or say no to this. Thank you very much.
All right, so there are no other.
President, as a point of order, this is not a financial transfer, it's accepting the grant. So doesn't that just need a simple majority?
No, it's accepting grants as a first time around is going to be 9 votes. I see Councilor Hernandez.
Yes, Mr. President, thank you. I just wanted to piggyback on what Councilor Greeny was speaking to, as to be respectful. And I agree 100% that we should not be utilizing degrading terms while others are speaking. That's very unacceptable and very childish. So I wish that we can adhere to the matters of an honorable city council and stop with the extra comments while others are speaking. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. So, Councilor Murphy, I see your hand up. You're on mute, Counselor.
Okay.
There you
Well
go.
said.
Yep.
Yeah, I've listened and I've really tried to think this through. I did talk to Mr. Lavelle today, and I do remember talking at the meeting, the need to try to find a way to get all the parties involved in the discussion. And I think what I understood today was that the gas and electric really was not part of the grant, and they were not part of the hiring process in terms of the people that were going to be the engineers or the project managers. They did have concern, or I heard concerns in that phone conversation that all of this would be to create, coming out of this would be pretty much a real endorsement of the betterment of energy relations, which I can agree with, but I can't believe, and we were told last night that one of the reasons the Bar Foundation chose Holyoke was because of the Holyoke Gas and Electric, and how they've done so well that, again, I'm inclined to vote against this with the caveat that if the Bar Foundation really believes that the Holyoke Gas and Electric is the kind of energy company that they think can be partnered with them in terms of improving our environmental and energy issues, that they would come back and think about partnering with Holyoke Gas and Electric directly, the city of Holyoke directly. And, neighbor to neighbor is going to do that other research separately. That's another matter. But I have not heard endorsement from Holyoke Gas and Electric. I do think they would like to see something there, but I think they would like to see it there where they have input, not input to veto, but input to offer their expertise. And I just think that's part of this that's missing. And so, I'll continue to listen, and I'm still trying to make my final judgment, and I've held off talking and listening to all of this. I agree with the Councilor Hernandez and Councilor Greeny. All of us have to we can disagree, and just understand that's the way it is, and respect is important. So I do appreciate all the feedback here. I think it's been good, and I look forward to the vote.
Councilor Anderson Burgos, I see your hand up.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to make a motion to table. This is a very
Second.
It's going to require a little bit more time, and I think after witnessing everything, and I think it's just a good choice to table this.
The motion is to the table. It's been seconded. It cannot be debated. All those in favor?
Aye.
First,
Aye.
before I hear the ayes and the noes, please remove yourself from mute. I see a lot of mute buttons. All right. Councilor Boy Martinez, you're still muted. All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
No.
Show
I'm
of
in
hands.
doubt. I have to have a show of hands, which would be in front of the screen so I can count, not the little blue or green, whatever's on the side.
In favor, you said?
Motion is, just to raise your hand, motion is to table.
But Todd, question, point of information,
Yes.
since the jacket wasn't signed, is this even necessary?
Well, I brought that up earlier, Counselor. It was a question as to how do you want to proceed, and since it was brought up from the committee, we said
Well, you
go
brought it up,
forward.
and we did it one way, and we didn't do it the same way for this.
Well, no one really said either way. I mean, I'll go whatever you guys want to do. It's coming from finance. If you all want to say you're signing the jacket, I'll do it that way. That's why I brought it up earlier on the other one, and there was two different viewpoints, and no one came to a consensus.
I thought we were suspending the rules for the meeting since we're all online.
And that was one of the talks, but there was never a suspension of the rules, to be clear on it.
Right.
So that was that issue when we brought it up. The real issue now is on a table, so you'd have to take that one up first. The motion is to table. Raise your hands if you want to table it so I can see you on the screen. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Not enough. Need 7. So we're back to the original, which would be the motion is to recommend that it be denied. We're back to that.
So moved.
Under discussion, I do see hands that have come up. First is Councilor McGivern.
Just quick, I'm not going to repeat anything, Mr. President. The reason I didn't vote to table is, as I said in the beginning, is that the Bar Foundation is ready to rescind the grant. They're looking to give us a chance to vote it up or down. And that's why we vetted it in committee. And that's why it's before the city council this evening. I think it's important that the full city council weighs in. Unfortunately, we've had it for many months now, and we need to do it one way or the other. One of the things I did forget to readdress was Councilor Leahy's point about the community outreach being door to door. Marcus told us last night he knows that during the COVID-19 crisis, and until there's much more clarity as to what can be done, there'll be no door to door. Whatever community outreach would be through social media or through whatever other means there are out there. And I agree with Mr. President. We've always treated grants as appropriations, and it would take 9 votes to pass this evening. I think the more yes votes, even if it doesn't pass, maybe at least say something to the Bar Foundation that we are interested in their money in the future. Thank you.
Councilor Lisi.
Oh, no, sorry.
Councilor Bartley.
Yeah, I just want to move the question, Mr. President.
Okay.
Second.
So back to that, we're back to pass the first reading, which is that we recommend to deny it. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion
Motion to pass the second reading.
Motion is to
Hey,
pass.
Todd.
Councilor.
But you asked for, people are kind of jumping all over the place. Let's do this kind of systematically and clear. Maybe a roll call.
Well, we are going to do a roll call.
We are gonna do a roll call.
On the second.
We have to do a roll call.
First reading is always a voice vote, which is what we just did. This is now motion to the second reading, which was seconded. The clerk will call the roll once again. If you're voting, a yes vote is to deny. I know sometimes it gets a little confusing on it being backwards, but that's how it works. We'll turn it over to the clerk.
Anderson Burgos,
No.
Bartley,
Yes.
Greeny,
Yes.
Hernandez,
No.
Leahy,
Yes.
LeBron Martinez,
No.
Lisi,
No.
McGee,
Nope.
McGivern,
No.
Murphy,
Yes.
Sullivan,
Yes.
Bowman,
No.
Bacon.
Yes.
6 yeas, 7 nays.
With your vote, the grant was denied. Now we're on to, there is no public safety, no public
Mr.
service.
President,
Yep.
we just checked that count.
What was that?
We checked that count.
We're back to the clerk.
6 yeas, 7 nays.
So we went through.
No, it fails because it doesn't have
Yeah.
9 votes, but I have 7 yeses.
I had 6 yeses.
Six
Sorry.
yeses. Yeah, it's 6.
6 yeses.
Bartley, Greeny, Leahy, Murphy, Sullivan, and Bacon.
You all set, Councilor McGivern?
Thank you, Mr. President.
All right, so now there are no other committees.
President, motion to suspend the necessary rules and take up the late filed order regarding Jeff Trask's appointment.
Second.
Second.
Motion is suspend the rules, take up the late file, which would be late file A. Give me 1 second. Late file A is a communication from the mayor's office today. Dear council, with the power vested in, by me, Commonwealth of Massachusetts, Mass General Law 41, Section 1461A, I here appoint Jeff Trask as Emergency Management Director for the City of Holyoke effective May 11th, 2020. Trask will serve a 1-year term. Said term will expire 2021. Signed, the mayor, CCing Chief Preskopowski and the HR director.
Motion to refer to Committee on Public Service.
Second.
Motion is to send to public service. Now, just a heads up, before we do that, there was a question to try and approve it tonight because of the time shifting or the person leaving the position to then appoint this person. I did express that anytime it's a new person, it has to go to public service, but I do leave it up to the full body as to whether or not they want to suspend the rules or not. So I put that out there. I said I'd say that. Hearing nothing, it is to public service.
I have my hand up, Mr. President.
I'm sorry, Councilor Bartley. I didn't see it.
That's okay, Mr. President. You got a lot on your, hey, you're back.
I'm back. I got the moon.
Right.
I got the moon. Dave.
Oh.
Watch out.
Just to my friend Joe, I'd like to make a motion to suspend and to approve this tonight in light of the, I think the exigency of it, plus the fact that Mr. Trask is already kind of a known. I know we didn't appoint him before at the Fire Commission, but I'm of the opinion that he's been serving well, and I think I'm pretty confident in his ability. But
I'll second that motion.
So Councilor Bartley is asking, and it was seconded, that we suspend the rules to take up a vote tonight instead of sending it to public service. All those in favor?
And discussion.
Sorry,
yeah.
Councilor McGivern.
Sorry, I didn't hit the blue hand. Sorry.
We're trying here. We're trying.
My mouse is acting up. The reason I'm excited to hear from Mr. Trask. I'm excited to speak to him, and I didn't think we had enough time to do a full interview this evening. I'm not even sure if he's still with us, but I have a lot of confidence from what I've heard about Mr. Trask and from what I know about Mr. Trask. But this is a very important decision, not a very important decision, but a very important position to take over. I know from the resume, I know from everyone I've spoken to, he is qualified. I could vote yes just on that alone. But I think vetting him out, this appointment in committee for as we get through COVID-19, where we're going, and to learn more about, some of his vision is part of what I wanted to do. I just didn't think we'd have time. If the city council wants to do a full interview right now, I'm fine with that. Usually it takes about a half hour, 45 minutes if you want to do it, or we can do the traditional, send it to public service.
Councilor Vacan, I see your hand up.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would like to see all of the appointments go to committee, because I think with Zoom, we can accomplish them in a timely manner. And I'm just wondering, as a point of information, can't the mayor appoint him acting or temporary so that he can step into the role while we conduct the committee meeting?
He can, because he did that with Mr. Bloomberg.
Okay, so it wouldn't prohibit him moving forward.
You could do that.
So I'd like to see a committee in that case. Thank you.
You're welcome. Sorry. Councilor Lisi, I see your hand up.
I was just going to say that I was open to making the appointment and having the committee meeting and interview behind the appointment. But if the mayor can appoint in an acting capacity, I think that will serve just as well. I just think, yes, it is important to speak face-to-face with Mr. Trask. He is on the phone here this evening. I think the questions that we have for him are probably going to, as Councilor McGivern noted, take a half an hour, 45 minutes. And so I was just offering as a potential solution, appointing today and then having the interview in the near future.
Councilor Bartley.
Yeah, I heard what everybody said. I'll withdraw my motion.
Okay, so motion's been withdrawn. The first one was that it be sent to public service. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? It goes to public service. All right, so back to orders, motions, and resolutions. Item 10 is from Councilor Anderson Burgos. Order that the trustees of the Soldiers Home in Holyoke attend our next meeting of the City Council to address the timeline of a recent event and to address their plans moving forward, as the Soldiers Home in Holyoke has accounted for nearly 20% of the COVID-19 fatalities in our city. We as a community have had a reasonable expectation that the state-run facility would provide the best care its residents have earned through their service. As an ongoing tragedy that has brought painful national attention to our city, it is also in the public interest that we fully understand their responsibility where it lies and their accountability. Councilor Anderson Burgos.
Now, I know there's a lot of legality, so I think what I would like to do is send this to public service.
All right, to public service. All those in favor?
Todd, under your conversation, discussion, I have my hand up.
Sorry, Councilor Leahy.
Thank you. I can't even, put into words about what I think about the Holyoke Soldiers Home. It's so many friends, so many grandparents, so many people up there. I get extremely emotional thinking about all these veterans who suffered and passed away. It's terrible. However, any person that knows anything about any municipalities or any government or any state work, with all the amount of lawsuits, they're not going to come in. This is something that's not going to happen. We can put this to public service, but they're not going to come in and discuss anything. There's 5 different investigations going, probably plethoras of lawsuits. They have one voice, they have one spokesperson, just any major company. With no offense to the maker, I'd probably just give it leave to withdraw.
Second.
Councilor Lisi.
Thank you. I'd like to be added to this order. I do understand that there are several investigations pending, and they may not be able to come in and speak at this point in time, but I do think that our constituents deserve to understand the outcome of those investigations. So maybe at some point later in time, we should have something in place so that we can bring in those investigations, their findings, and talk to the Board of Trustees, because, there was an order filed last meeting that wanted to know what the responsibility of the mayor and this department and that department was. And it's a state-run facility with a state-appointed Board of Trustees. And I want to know, what is their responsibility? What sort of responsibility do they have in advocating for the veteran residents there? I think these are important questions that in all of the newspaper articles that I've seen, I've not seen one person digging into those questions. And that is the representation that we have locally in that facility. It's this Board of Trustees, and we don't appoint them, but it is, again, our representation. So I think at some point in time, we should have this in committee to basically review the findings of the investigations and hear from the horse's mouth, what happened.
Councilor Hernandez.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would also like to be added to this order filed by Councilor Anderson Burgos. And just like the same sentiment as Councilor Leahy, what has happened at the Soldiers Home is an atrocity of mismanagement. And although we don't manage it, the city, it still is in our city, and we owe an explanation to our constituents. Another thing is that everything that I've seen and read, nobody is taking accountability for this, and it's a blame game, and it's quite honestly disgusting. And as part of the city council, I think that we should be at the table, and there should be answers that we provide to our town. Thank you.
Councilor Bartley.
Oh, let me, I thought I was on mute. Thank you, Mr. President. I was going to say just a couple of things, but I'll just say respectfully, I was the one that filed the order at the last meeting to my friend, the chair ordinance. And, whether you want to characterize it any way, that's fine. But I think we just heard about talking in respectful terms from previous counselors. Now, whether the chair wants to rule on that, that's up to the chair. But I'll tell you, when I've spoken out in other meetings, when we've been in room 11, the chair has come down pretty quick with a gavel on me. Now that's twice to my friend the chair that either a direct intervention on what I said or a tone relative to what I filed has been uttered by the same counselor. I'm just suggesting it to you. That was order agenda item number 21 last week. We referred that to public safety. I'd be of the opinion, respectfully, that we would refer this to public safety. I'm not one to generally vote for leave to withdraw right out of the gate. And I mean, I don't think I may have done it once or twice, but I'd be hard pressed to remember it. I'd like to know where the number 20% of the COVID-19 facility, COVID-19 fatalities within the city comes from. One, I've not seen a number on fatalities, so I'm not sure. I mean, there are at least 71 deaths up there. So is a counselor saying there have been 351 deaths, 355 deaths in the city of Holyoke? So that number on COVID, that number is, to me, pretty curious. I don't know where it was derived. I would really demand that the counselor step up and say where he got the number, whether he wants to do it now or he wants to do it in committee. I'm going to suggest to the maker of the order, think that one out a lot, because you're saying 20% of the COVID death fatalities in the city of Holyoke, and we know there's at least 71 deaths from the soldiers' home relative to this. So that's a curious number. I would strongly ask you to think it out or explain it now. So I'm going to make a motion that we refer this to the same committee where my order, agenda item 21, was sent, and that would be public safety. I think we can have a good discussion there.
All right, I'll withdraw my motion. I'll second David's.
All right, so next in the queue is Councilor Anderson Burgos.
So, like I said, I want to send this to committee. So is it going to committee? Because that was the question.
It's going to go to committee.
Okay. I want to state something also. There's been too much disrespect, talking down to, and I do not appreciate it. And you know who you are. So I'm going to say this once and I'm going to say it clearly. You need to be a little bit more professional if you want people to hear your message. Because when I hear you speak, it's degrading and it's sad. And the world is watching, or at least Holyoke is watching. And when you do this, it just disappoints me because you're supposed to be my colleague. We're supposed to be together. This is a pandemic. Everybody is stressed out, and this is so sad that we have to sit here and listen to your tone and how you talk to people and degrade people. This needs to stop. Please, I plead with you. Please stop.
For everybody, I know we're doing Zooms. It's hard. Tough time. We had a meeting before this. Long night. It's now 9 o'clock. We're 3 hours into a long day at home, stuck at home working. I get it. Let's settle down. These are items that are going to go to committee to be addressed and to be vetted. With that said, I see Councilor Vacan up next. Councilor Vacan.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just wanted to comment and refer back to the statistic that Sean gave us because it relates to this order in a general way. He stated that 74% of the 671 cases are in long-term care facilities. So I work on a campus of one of these facilities every day. I'm in the assisted living and independent side, but I'm here to say there's a tragedy going on in the city right now. The Soldiers' Home, yes, the biggest example. It's not the only one. And I would just really encourage all of us to just work through the tragedy. Hopefully, as many of these people can be saved as possible. We've already lost too many, but they're our most fragile, vulnerable elders in the long-term care facilities. And I just hate to see this turn into a political gotcha. you know, which board, which this or that is going to be held accountable. Let's just focus on trying to save as many of these people as we can. All the recriminations, all the investigations can take place later. Right now, let's just try to get through this, get our community better. And I'm just thankful for all the people who are out there every day dealing with this, our city employees, people in the private sector. So let's just let all the blame rest for a while and just focus on a positive outcome for those who can recover. Thank you.
One thing to point out, and I'll get to you, Councilor Sullivan. When drafting orders, and this came to my attention last week, and I had several constituents call me. You can ask my wife. I was in the playroom answering the calls, and we draft orders. We type them up as best as we can in order to get to committee to then fully explain it. So here, a counselor has asked that, you know, we asked the trustees of the Soldiers Home to attend a meeting. In DGNR, we ask everyone to come in to try and get a better understanding who they are, what their capacity is, what they do with their department. They may say no because they're state run. That might just happen. And that's okay because of what the issue is. It's an order asking them to come in because we have all gotten the calls on the Soldiers Home or emails as to what we can do. We may not be able to do anything, but a counselor is just asking if we can try and get them in to get some of those answers for our constituents. That is how I read this order. As I was referencing the calls I was getting from the last agenda, some people were commenting on the way something was drafted. Once again, we get phone calls last minute, we file an order through the email and we get it on as fast as we can, and then try and vet it. Let's not dig too deep into our orders until it gets to committee and then we fully vet it.
Yeah, Todd, I withdrew my order and seconded it going to committee to public safety or service.
So this
Mr. President
goes to public service. Hey, Councilor Graney, I hear you.
Yes, Mr. President, I just a point of order. I know a couple of the vets that have passed because of this COVID virus. I would like at this point in time, and I know it's probably, I don't know if it's proper or not, if we as a group could pause and just take a moment of silence for all those vets that have passed at the Soldiers Home.
Yeah, absolutely, Councilor. Councilor Graney has asked that we all take a moment for a moment of silence. I don't hear anyone saying no to that. So please, let's do that for our veterans. Thank you. I thank you for that, Councilor Graney. It's to go to public safety. Councilor Lisi, I see your hand up.
Thanks. I actually would like to offer a friendly amendment if the maker doesn't mind. I think it's not fatalities, but it is, if we look at 138 positive cases of the 671 that we learned of earlier, it's actually 20.5% exactly. So it's not fatalities, but cases, positive cases.
Check this out. So remove fatalities and put cases. Is that what we're saying? All right. All those in favor?
All right.
All those opposed? Of which this will be going to public safety, correct? Did I say that right?
Yes. Public safety.
All right. So public safety. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? All right. Item 11 is from Councilor Bartley that Holyoke install a 4-way stop sign at Michigan and Erie Aves. Speeding is a major problem.
Yeah, please, public safety and then copy to the city engineer, please.
Second.
All right, so it's to public safety with a copy to the engineer. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? 12 is from Councilor Bartley. Holyoke determine the voting location for Ward
Suspend
3.
the rules, Mr. President. Take 12 and 13 together. Send both to Charter and Rules if I could.
All right, so motion is suspend rules, take 12 and 13 as a package. All those in favor?
All right.
All opposed? 12 was that voting location for 3A, both for 9/1/20 state and federal primary and for 11/3/20 state and federal general election ASAP. I'm writing that in light of last minute change on South Street Fire Station polling location for the 5/19 special election caused by the concerns due to the COVID-19. Holyoke consider location for 1B as this too. So you're looking to see what we can do with it. 13 is Holyoke set up a commission to look at the polling locations for every ward for future elections, both the charter and rules. All those in favor? All those opposed?
Aye.
Aye.
No questions? Okay. 14 from Councilor Bartley, the DPW install clear and or improving signage on Route 202.
Can I go on that order also, please?
Adding Councilor Bacon. Trucks coming from Route 202 that must turn left on Homestead Ave. So what would you like there, Councilor?
Yeah, receive and adopt, so refer to the city engineer and DPW and send a copy to public safety, please.
All right, motion is to receive, adopt, copy to public safety, going to DPW and engineering. All those in favor?
Aye.
We add on Councilor Bacon. 15 is from Councilor Bartley that the city council send a request with backup from Massachusetts federal and state delegation to ask that any flyovers of Boston, also including one over Holyoke Soldiers Home, a tribute to the military who have died. So where would you like this one, Councilor?
Well, I'm just gonna let you, why don't you finish reading the whole thing, Mr. President?
So Holyoke Soldiers Home, a tribute to the military who have died, still living up on the hill, and the staff helping these heroes. I would say this request must be immediate in time, and plan must be clear and not need additional resources to complete.
Per constituent, that's how it ends. Yeah, so this, the motion is that the order is about to be complied with tomorrow at, I think it's 10:45.
12:15.
It might be
12:15, I thought.
12:15 to 12:30.
Tomorrow for sure. And
12:15.
Let's see if I at some point I had a
12:35 tomorrow.
thank you. 12:35. There you go.
I'll let you know when I hear them.
Please do. Yeah. This is the motion of the order is about to be complied with. We'll just send a copy to the administrative assistant and we'll thank the group out of Barnes Airport, the 104th. And this was from a constituent who brought this to my attention. I had no idea this was happening, but the constituent advised me, and here we are. So thank you.
All right. So tomorrow, May 6th, for people watching at home, 12:35, we said?
Yes.
This way you will see the flyover around that time. So motion is that this has been complied with. Councilor Tallman, sorry, Councilor Tallman.
Yeah, thank you. If it's possible, Councilor Bartley, if I could be added on to that order. I read about that today, I believe it was on Mass Live, about the flyover through the hospitals that the F-15s and the 104th Fighter Wing are going to be flying tomorrow through all the hospitals, starting out at the Mass Police State, I believe, graduation, and to Boston, Worcester, Springfield, and then Holyoke Hospital, and going over the Soldiers Home and to over to Noble Hospital in Westfield. So I'd be happy to sign on to that. I'm a proud member of the 104th Fighter Wing. Worked with a lot of these gentlemen, a lot of these pilots that be flying these planes. And I think it's a great order, and I'm glad it's happening tomorrow, especially for all the frontline workers, nurses, and doctors that are dealing with this during this difficult time, and especially for our veterans, the ones we lost and the ones that are still up at the Soldiers Home in their memory for this flyover. So I'm really happy that this order has been filed, and I want to be a proud co-sponsor of this order. Thank you.
Mr. President, could we unanimously sign on to that?
Yeah, hold on, Councilor Graney. Councilor Sullivan, Councilor Bar Martinez, and Councilor Graney. Councilor Sullivan.
Yeah, as a former member of the 104th, I'd like to be added to it also.
Okay, Councilor Bar Martinez. You're on mute, Councilor Bar Martinez. You're on mute. There you go.
with the maker of the order, can I get added onto the I'm sorry, order number 12? I missed it. I'm sorry. I was.
Oh, yeah.
I've been wanting to be part of that, please. Thank you.
Councilor Graney.
Yeah, Mr. President, could we make the city council unanimously sign on to that order?
Would
I
everyone
don't
like,
think anybody would object.
would everyone like to sign on to 15?
Yes.
Yes.
All those in favor, all those opposed, so everyone signed on. Now it's at Councilor Lisi, your hand is up, I see, or? No, okay, Councilor Tallman, your hand was up, so that's there. All right, so a motion that's been complied with tomorrow, 12:35, you'll see the flyover. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? We're on to 16 from Councilor Leahy, that the city of Holyoke look to rent, lease, purchase mobile trailers to conduct voting in.
Can this order be received, adopted, and sent to public service, the mayor, the city clerk, and Lori Belanger?
All right.
How about refer to committee?
Yeah, if you receive, adopt.
Or I'm sorry, refer to us public service with copies to the mayor, city clerk, and Lori Belanger.
Copy to mayor and purchasing. All right.
If I could just quickly.
Councilor Leahy, go ahead.
Just, you know, what city of Holyoke is facing isn't what other communities haven't faced, talking about locations, polling locations, places to vote. And I've been doing some research throughout the country. And, you know, if you go to a wedding that's outside, they have these big trailers that are utilized for restrooms. Well, they have these big trailers as well that are utilized for polling locations. And they make them handicap accessible. And they can get a lot of people, especially now with social distancing, you can put it in a parking lot somewhere and we can get a lot of people voting. It's going to be much easier than having to rely on older buildings, sometimes private buildings. Thank you.
With that, Council, when it gets to committee, I'd ask that, because Councilor McGivern brought it up, and I thought both were very good points, was if there ever is a like shutting down of Ward 3, one of the polling places due to the virus, could you move the voting trailer or mobile trailer up there to conduct the voting next to the polling location to make it easier? With that, I'd go to the point of we were going to have a mobile city hall at one point in time. That never materialized. There is, from my understanding, a small, very small trailer. It's probably something that won't be good for voting in. Could we send that back, trade it in, and get something that meets a large trailer for voting? Because we already had something that's not being utilized, so why waste the money?
Let's find out in committee.
We'll discuss that in committee. But I just bring those points up in case I'm, ever traveling again, ever. So to public service.
Mr. President?
Yeah, Councilor Bradley, sorry.
Sorry, I have my hand up. So I want to get behind this order, but I just want to make a comment on it. But I want to make one friendly amendment that we also refer it to the is a board of voter registration, the Haley Fair and Mr. Macy and that group, because they're kind of overlooked. So I just want to make that motion. I just want to make one comment, if I may.
And copy to the board. Yep.
Oh.
Did I miss you? Are you done, Councilor?
No, I just want to make one quick comment. I think this is trying to think a little bit outside the normal terms, and I like it because in this day and age, there's got to be consideration for different kind of ideas. I hate the term new normal. If I ever say it again, you can just mute me forever. And so it's but this is a case here where in my opinion the counselors trying to anticipate maybe not what's happening now, but what's another issue in the future. I mean, say what you just referenced was happening in 3A. And so I'll say it again. What I said last week is that there's, to me, notes on the door are great. I'm hopeful that we'll do a little bit more. I don't know if we can leave a trail of breadcrumbs from 3A to Metcalf School to try to get people to vote. But it's somebody shows up at the door and they see a note and made the effort to get there, and now it's 7:45, are they gonna hop back in the car and make a beeline to Metcalf, or are they gonna say, yeah, I tried, they're shut down? I mean, I think what Councilor Leahy's doing here, and I'll just say one other question. After I sent out my newsletter today, I got numerous calls relative to the voting in City Hall. Not so much Metcalf. I think I would have about Metcalf, Mr. President, if school were in session, but obviously it's not. But with City Hall being open, I really hope that there's a plan for the voters in 1B, not just for the voters in 1B, but also for the City Hall employees, because there's going to be an unusual number of people streaming into City Hall. So I'm confident that the election's in good hands. I'm not saying that, but it's just an unusual situation with the distancing part and the sanitizing, and now the voters are going up to, I understand they're going to go vote in the auditorium, and it's still unclear to me where Ward 3's voters are going, whether 3B's always gone in the basketball gym, but 3A, I don't know if they're going to be in. I was thinking more about what the councilor said last week about going to the cafeteria. I kind of like that idea. I mean, just to sort of make a little bit a little more room. But is that a good idea? Because it just requires more cleaning for the Metcalf staff. So I think, just back to the maker's point, this is thinking outside the box. I like it, and I hope we have a good discussion committee. Thank you.
Just one point, because so we don't cause confusion. As was stated in the last meeting, for Ward 1, it'll be at the back of the entrance to City Hall. It'll be on that floor. No one's going up in the elevator to the auditorium. You'll check in at the table there. You'll go to voting booths 6 feet apart, and then you'll go out the back entrance by the treasurer's office. So it's one single line in and out of the building to limit people being near each other and grouping up. No one's going into the auditorium.
Thank you.
Yep. Councilor Martinez, you have your hands up, I see, or a question?
Yeah, yes. So the trailer situation is still it's being discussed right here, but how is that? Is that handicap accessible, or how does it work?
Yeah, Councilor Leahy can answer, but it's going to committee. We can vet that out. We just don't have it yet. But
well, that's exact. No, I was just gonna say that this is happening throughout the country. So yes, they make this handicap accessible, but this is going to committee. So let's discuss all this there.
All right. So 2, public service with a copy to the mayor, purchasing, and the board. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 17 is from Councilor Leahy. Order that the water department, working in conjunction with the environmental police, submit a report to the city council itemizing the fines for dogs in the city, reservoirs, and fishing in the reservoir as well. Please submit the report monthly or for a reminder of time the city has retained the environmental police.
Yeah, Todd, thank you. I'd like to receive and send a copy to finance. Send it to finance with copies to the water superintendent and maybe the conservation commissioner.
All right, to finance with copies to environmental police, conservation, and who else? That it?
I think that's it. Yeah.
Okay. So to finance with a copy to those areas. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
And just under discussion, very quickly,
sure.
Dave Conti is doing a fantastic job. You know, he's one of the best department heads the city's had since I've been around here. Has hired the environmental police to help them maintain the reservoirs while this COVID-19 is happening. So just want to make sure that we're getting our money's worth, because I've been hearing that a lot of people are walking their dogs up there and fishing. So I want to make sure that, you know, there's some fines being told out.
Okay. All right, so 18's a long one. I won't read it all, I promise. It's the special election from Councilor McGee, special election to the city of Holyoke for Senator of the General Court of the 2nd Hampden, Hampshire District. That will be Tuesday, May 19th, 2020. Several places with regards to polling, which will be open from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. And then it gives that in Spanish on 19, if we take them up as a package, is a list of all the polling places for the May 19th election. So motion would be suspend the rules, take up 18 and 19 as a package.
Second.
All those in favor? All
Aye.
opposed? Motion would just be to receive and adopt 18 and 19 because it's for the special election of May 19th, 2020.
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 20 is from Councilor McGee that the May 19th meeting of the City Council be rescheduled due to a special election. Any thoughts, any questions? We can suspend it and always take up a special meeting if need be.
Mr. President?
Yeah, Councilor Bacon.
Thank you. I was just wondering, we'll probably have to have a special meeting to receive the budget anyway.
Yeah.
So maybe we could actually have it prior to the 19th and maybe we could include more agenda items.
Okay, so I see Councilor Barley's hand up. Councilor Barley, you have a question or?
I did.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, so that was a topic we brought up last night relative to the receipt of the budget. I think we heard from the room one earlier today in the special meeting that's on schedule. So I guess that in my opinion, in light of this epidemic, that I don't know why we would necessarily need to reschedule this meeting though. I think we're going to probably have to call a special meeting anyhow in next week relative to the budget just to accept it. And I think that, generally we postpone meetings on election day because the clerk needs to use the room, and that's fine. But if we're going to have a Zoom meeting and we have a perfectly capable administrative assistant who can call the roll, I mean, I don't see a reason to reschedule a city council meeting and just back us up even more. But that's me.
Yeah. So our meeting goes off at 7. People are still allowed because the polls are open till 8 to allow them to go vote. That's one issue. The clerk's office. Yeah, hold on. Clerk's office is still working. So that's another issue with that. I can make a motion to allow the clerk to answer a question.
So moved.
So
All
moved.
those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
I just wanted to point out, there's a Massachusetts general law that prohibits certain committees from meeting on the same day as an election. I'll have to look it up and remember exactly what it was. But the Secretary of State's office highly recommends that nobody meets during days of election.
So with that, there is, and Councilor Bacon had a very good idea, which is we can suspend this one, and then when the special meeting comes up, when the budget's going to be presented, we can have the special meeting for that and add on agenda items. Correct, Councilor Bacon? Okay.
It was a thought.
Yeah, no, it's a very good
I like that
one.
thought.
So a motion would be to, in essence, not have the May 19th meeting, and when we get everything ready for the budget, we can send out an email as to when that special meeting will occur. Is that good for people?
Yeah, Mr. President, yeah, I think that's a good idea, but the thing is to somehow get us a few days notice, because if we're going to submit some items, or any council wants to submit some items, they can get them in time for the clerk to get us out the email for the special meeting.
We will do that.
Okay.
All right. Any other questions?
Yes, Mr. President.
Councilor Green.
Mr. President. Yes, I just want to mention, in spite of all the tragedy and everything that's going on in our community and in the country, I just want to recognize that today is also a very important day for many of our residents. It is the Cinco de Mayo, and I think that we should recognize that as a body, because many of our residents, it's a celebratory day for them and for all of us.
So with that, to 20, to reschedule that meeting, All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? We'll get back to you with the date. 21 is from Counselor McGivern, and I assume.
Mr. President, if I can make a motion to suspend the rules,
Second.
take up item 21, 22, 23, 24, and 25 as a package and pass the first reading.
Motion is
Second.
suspend rules, take up 21 to 25 as a package. All those in favor? All those
Aye.
opposed? 21 quickly is for $11,822.57. That's the patrolman injured on duty. 22 is also for $20,138.11. That's for patrolmen and sergeants for injured on duty. 23 is also for patrolmen and sergeants for injured on duty. That's $11,087.48. 24, once again for patrolmen, is $8,349.66 for injured on duty. 25 is $2,121.32, and that would be for firefighters and injured on duty. Motion is to receive, adopt, pass the first reading. Under discussion, Councilor McGivern.
Real quick, this is the transferring of the line item known as salary for an officer or firefighter who was injured on duty. Some of these are temporary, some of these are a little bit more long-term, and we just put them into what's the line item known as injured on duty for accounting of the dollars spent and services received, certainly to get their salary continued when they're injured on duty. Just so you know, on the police ones, 21, there are 5. 22, there are 8, including 5 from 20 carried over. On 23, there are 5. They are carryovers. And by 24, we're reduced to 4 police. The fire on number 25 is a long-term. It still remains at 1.
All right, so motion is to pass the first reading. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
Motion to pass the second reading.
Motion is
Second.
passed the second reading. The clerk will call the roll. If you vote yes, you're voting for all of them, 21 to 25 as a package.
Anderson Burgos,
Yes.
Bartley,
Yes.
Greenie,
Yes.
Hernandez,
Yes.
Leahy,
Yes.
LeBron Martinez,
Yes.
Lisi,
Yes.
McGee,
Yes.
Givern,
Yes.
Murphy,
Yes.
Sullivan,
Yes.
Almond,
Yes.
Bacon.
Yes.
Unanimous vote.
With your vote, you approved all the transfers for injured on duty. 25 is from Councilor McGivern. It's the Wood Mitchell grant, which we send to finance.
No, Mr. President, if I can make a motion to suspend the rules to pass the first reading for the purpose of adoption, I think I can answer all questions and make a report and see if we can pass.
Motion is to receive, adopt, pass the first reading, which would be
Second.
Mass General Law, Chapter 44, Section 53A, which is the City Council accept the provisions of the Cynthia Woods Mitchell grant and authorize the establishment of a fund. So under discussion, Councilor McGivern.
Thank you, Mr. President. I spoke with Mike McManus. As you know, the DPW was in charge of the City Hall building itself, even though the mayor's office does control a lot about it. Mike told me this is a $15,000 grant. It is a one-to-one match. The good news is we already have the match when we accepted a $50,000 earmark that Rep. Vega got for the city for historic reservation. 15,000 of that 50,000 would be our match. It's already something that's in place that we accepted, and a lot of it involves City Hall restoration itself. This would be a little bit more. It is actually going to hire a consultant. The consultant is going to look at things like the mural on the chamber walls, the mold situation in some of the offices upstairs that is actually starting to come downstairs. Other items that were not taken care of when the city about 15, 20 years ago did a very good renovation. This is, I think, thinking ahead to make sure that we don't wait until it's too late to keep intact some of the things that are necessary to keep our beautiful building in good shape. The money comes from the National Trust Foundation itself. It is an historic grant, and with the 15,000 match already in place, I think it's money that would be well spent. And I ask the council to consider adopting it this evening.
I see no questions, so motion would be to pass the first reading. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Motion to pass the second reading?
Motion is passed the second reading. Clerk will call the roll. If you vote yes, you're voting for the grant.
Anderson Burgos,
Yes.
Bartley,
Yes.
Graney,
Yes.
Hernandez,
Yes.
Leahy,
Yes.
LeBron Martinez,
Yes.
Lisi,
Yes.
McGee,
Yes.
McGivern,
Yes.
Murphy,
Yes.
Sullivan,
Yes.
Coleman,
Yes.
Bacon.
Yes.
Unanimous vote.
With your vote, you approve the grant. 27 from Councilor Murphy, order that the city auditor, tax collector, treasurer provide a report to the city council on the status of property taxes, motor vehicle excise taxes, and Department of Revenue collected as of May 1. The report should include all the receivables with these revenue sources, and a comparison of these figures were on May 1st, 2019. Please have the report to the city council by May 19th.
I'd like to just amend it. I would like to be adopted with an amendment that the report be sent to each city councilor by May 19th, since we're not going to have the meeting.
So please have the report sent to the full city council by the 19th.
Well,
So
each city councilor, since we're not meeting on the 19th.
Yep. So on that amendment, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Councilor Murphy, any?
Just
comment?
that the ones I've asked for are about 95% of our local receipts, and I think getting a comparison from this May 1 to last May 1 will give us an idea how much deficit we may be facing. And I know I was happy to hear during the mayor's presentation that so far tax collections in April appear to be where they were last year. So hopefully we'll be in relatively good shape, but I think we need to get those figures as soon as possible so we can plan the budget and start to think about what we might have to do. Thank you.
All right, thank you. So
Great order.
for 27, the motion is to receive, adopt, send to all those departments. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? There are a few other late files that came in at 5:21 today. No names. Counselor Sullivan, and they're good orders. Counselor Sullivan did have meetings with the on the CPA monies. Not all are supposed to be acted on tonight, but there are two, I believe, if I read them all correctly. So B is from Counselor Sullivan, that the city council approve the recommendation of the CPAC award of $80,000 for the stained glass window replacement and removal crating of 4. Motion is to suspend the rules, take up final action tonight on this one.
Yeah, so the reason I
Hold
like.
on, I need a second.
Second.
So all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Counselor Sullivan?
Yeah, so we've got 5 of these all together, just to give everybody a heads up. Only 2 of them hoping to get done tonight because I didn't think they're going to be controversial. If there's going to be any big discussion, then I'll gladly just send them to committee. This one we've seen before with the stained glass windows. It's being done under historic rehabilitation. This is a 3rd phase restoration of 2 stained glass windows in the ballroom, windows 12 and 3. Also the removal and crating of 4 more windows, 1, 2, 4, and 5 on the east side of City Hall to prevent further damage. And that's real critical right now. We've had a lot of windy weather. They're in very fragile shape, and we need to keep moving on this. The total budget's $160,000, and CPA will provide a match from MH, Mass Historic Commission.
Any questions for Counselor Sullivan? Counselor Murphy?
So the CPA cost is $80,000. Is that correct?
CPA
The total cost.
Yeah, we get $80,000 from Mass Historic. We put up $80,000. The total project's $160,000.
How much do we have in the CPA for this year?
We have about $600,000. Don't forget, it's divided into 3 categories. This is coming out of the historic historic preservation piece of the pie. So
Okay, thank you.
Mike, do you want a roll call on this?
I guess it's
Because it's financial transfer, I assume it would be, but it's a CPA. Yeah, let's just do a roll call just so we're safe. So there's no Councilor McGivern, sorry, I see you.
Thank you. I just wanted to speak in favor. We have vetted the restoration of the stained glass windows in committee more than once. Unfortunately, it's kind of as you go, and we welcome the money. I think the city welcomes the money to do 1 or 2 windows, whatever is possible. And Mike's right. The quicker we get these done, because some of them are in such tough shape, a strong wind can put some of the window down on the street, or hurt someone, or even into the building, and still it would be more difficult to restore them. I know it's money being spent, but the CPA money is received and earmarked, from the Comcast franchise fee itself, and it's not a first and second reading type appropriation. We're approving what the CPA is spending the money on, which is more of the project of the proposal itself.
All right, so there's no further discussion. The clerk will call it off. If you vote yes, you're voting for the allocation of 80,000.
Anderson Burgos,
Yes.
Bartley,
Yes.
Rainey,
Yes.
Hernandez,
Yes.
Leahy,
Yes.
LeBron Martinez,
Yes.
Lacy,
Yes.
McGee,
Yes.
McGivern,
Yes.
Murphy,
Yes.
Sullivan,
yes.
Tolman,
Yes.
Bacon.
Yes.
Unanimous vote.
With your vote, you approve the 8,000. Motion would be to take up C, D, and E as a package because they're going to go to committee.
Second.
All those in favor? All
Aye.
opposed?
Aye.
From Councilor Sullivan, that the city council approve the recommendation of $104,500 to Astoria Harris Museum for their electrical upgrade. The total project for the electrical would be $353,350 to finance.
Second.
D for Councilor Sullivan is that the city council approve the recommendation of $120,000 for the Holyoke Housing Authority in conjunction with Habitat for Humanity on Jackson Street. Total cost would be $714,000. So those, and then E, sorry, E is city council approve $25,000 for the restoration study of Lady Liberty at Veteran Park. All three are being requested to go to finance.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Councilor McGivern?
Sorry, just a quick question to Councilor Sullivan. Are these time sensitive? Is it before July 1?
Those 3 I don't believe are time sensitive.
Okay, thank you.
And last one for the evening is F, Councilor Sullivan, that the city council approve the recommendation of $26,170 to restore 4 horses at the Holyoke merry-go-round. So motion be to suspend the rules, take up final action tonight.
Second.
All those in favor?
Mr.
All those
President,
opposed? Councilor Sullivan first for update.
Mr. President, if I could just appoint the
Yeah.
personal
Yeah.
necessity. I have to abstain from this. I didn't realize not being on the agenda was coming in this evening. I sit on the board of directors of the merry-go-round itself, so therefore I will not participate or vote on this.
Okay, that's fine. Councilor Sullivan.
I think the order pretty well speaks for itself. Everybody's familiar with the facility, the needs down there, and what an asset it is to the city. So,
All right. Any comments? Anything further?
I just have a comment.
Councilor Leahy. Yep.
Yeah, thank you. And I think this is what exactly the CPA money is going, this is fantastic. So many people come into the city and they either utilize the Children's Museum or the merry-go-round. And I just get so proud every time I hear somebody from Wilbraham came down and had a birthday party there. So I think this is a good thing to spend money on. And thank you, Michael, and your committee.
Thank you, Michael. And
hang on.
Councilor McGivern,
It's not my committee. I'm just a council rep on the committee. The members of the CPA committee do a fantastic job of vetting things out. So,
I'll say one thing. I want to thank Councilor Sullivan for all the work he does on this committee.
Yeah.
He brings
Hear,
all
hear.
the information to us and
Hear, hear.
makes it easier. And several members of that committee have reached out to me and asked when we're realigning committees that he stay there. So I want to thank you, Mike, for all the work that you do for the committee, but then bring it over to us. And then finally, for Councilor McGivern, I know you can't vote on it, but the work that you do down at the merry-go-round, allows me, and I guess I got to do full disclosure. I have my birthdays down there for my kids. I go down there for a lot of different events. I could be excluded from this vote, but I'm not. But thank you for all that you do and your committee down there to make that thing still the way it is.
Thank you.
So with that, the motion is to receive, or actually not receive it up, but to have the clerk call the roll to Councilor Anderson Burgos. Sorry. Anderson Burgos.
So before we vote, I wanted to share a little bit of a little story. So that merry-go-round, when it was in Mountain Park, when I was a child, I made a point to pick out every single horse, and I stayed there. I stayed in line until I rode on every single horse on that merry-go-round. Yeah. So.
Oh my God! You must have been dizzy.
Huh?
You must have been dizzy.
No, it was just,
Not on the same day.
something I wanted to do when I was a kid. I said, my challenge
explains a lot.
I loved it. And so, yeah, this is great. I'm glad we kept that merry-go-round.
Councilor McGivern, you're violating your own rule.
I'm not talking. It's just my hands.
Same thing. Stop leaning into the camera.
So no other hands. Motion is to have the clerk call the roll to record the vote of approving the allocation of funds.
Anderson Burgos,
Absolutely, yes.
Bartley,
Yes.
Greeny,
Yes.
Hernandez,
Yes.
Leahy,
Yes.
LeBron Martinez,
Yes.
DC,
Yes.
McGee,
Yes.
McGivern,
Abstain.
oh, right, Murphy,
Yes.
Sullivan,
Yes.
Bowman,
Yes.
Bacon.
Yes.
That is the end of the
Mr.
agenda.
President?
Before we
Mr.
adjourn,
President?
Councilor Greeny.
Yeah, I just want to apologize to the chair for making that announcement out of place. I didn't have my agenda in front of me.
No worries. No worries. One thing to everyone, I hope everyone has a wonderful rest of the week and then a weekend. I know things are a little tough at home, get a little crazy at times. I refer everyone back.
Mr. President.
Yeah, hold on.
Just one other quick thing. One other quick thing. I can remember when Councilor McGivern wasn't tall enough to ride on the roller coaster.
I don't think anyone should have been riding on the roller coaster.
Well, my first ride, I was 3 years old.
Yeah, you were on somebody's shoulders.
One point of order, everyone. Remember every year we get together at the end and have a dinner together, and we had a great laugh at the end of that, based on everything that we had up there. We keep that close to us. Just remember, we get a little heated at times, but don't worry, we're gonna get through this tough time. And I appreciate all the work that all of you do, every single one of you. And every points that you make, I like to listen to them, and I just appreciate it. Councilor Tallman, I see your hand up. To you, sir.
Yeah, thank you. Just real briefly to Councilor Leahy through the president. Councilor Leahy, was there supposed to be, I think most of us received a email today and a resume for Jose Bayron. Was that supposed to be taken up tonight?
Oh yeah, Councilor Leahy.
Yeah, if I could, just I heard the discussion going on with the Jeffrey Trask. So I text Ryan. We'll have a public service meeting coming up within the next week or so.
Okay, because I hear that they're short on a quorum for that Parks and Rec Commission, so I think it's important.
That's my understanding too. I mean, we did receive. This is the mayor's appointment. He appointed this gentleman. I did speak to the gentleman today for some time. He lives in Holyoke. The reason why I had the application, or his resume rather, resent out is because the first resume had an incorrect address on it. And so he does live in Holyoke.
Right.
I don't know if anybody had the opportunity to reach out and talk to him. He's supposed to be he's going to be replacing Coach Listowski. Terry doesn't have a quorum. There's only one person on the committee. I spoke to him. I encouraged everybody else to reach out to him. You guys want to move on this? I think we could move on this. He seems like a very knowledgeable person. He went to Lynch Middle School. He went to Holyoke High. He's from Holyoke. He's living in Holyoke for some time, and he's very passionate about the city's parks.
I would like to send it to committee, actually. I mean, we have other things that are going to committee, like the Jeff Trask appointment. So it seems like we would be, taking it up relatively soon, I would hope.
I second that.
All right, so we'll take it up. It's in committee currently. We didn't take it out. So there's no further item on the agenda. Motion would be to adjourn.
So move.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Good night, all.
Have a great night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night.